What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video, and today I've got a Dracotail profile for the February ban list because we finally got one. Took them a little while after the emergency ban list in October, but it's okay, we're here. I originally had a list that was pre-ban list. Ban list dropped, so I was like, fuck it, I'll just make the updated one before I even do my original one. So we're just gonna kick it straight into the profile. Starting off, obviously, with 3 copies of Dracotail Phimena. Um, I would love to get 2 more Starlights because the Starlight is beautiful, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is her effect. And her effect is quick effect during the main phase. You can discard her to fusion summon a dragon or spellcaster fusion monster by using materials from your hand or field as material, and then all of the Dracotail main deck monsters, say if they're sent to the graveyard as fusion material, you can set a Dracotail spell and trap. So I'm gonna skip over that for the rest of these. Um, Phimena managed to dodge the list, which is great. So yeah, and like I said, I'm playing 3 of her, and she's just a quick effect fusion summon on your opponent's turn. Next, I've got 3 copies of Lucius. Lucius on normal or special summon gets to search for a Dracotail monster. Important because you can go normal summon Lucius, find your Phimena, and then Phimena lets you fusion summon as long as you have another monster in hand. And now for the slew of random one-off monsters, and not so random one-off monsters. Starting off with the freshly limited Dracotail Malulu. Um, he's just during the main phase quick effect. You can fusion summon fusion summon a Dracotail monster from your by using monsters from your hand and or field, and it locks you into fusion monsters for the rest of the turn. Also has that same floating effect. Again, all of these will have that same floating effect. Then I've got 1 copy of Frixel. Frixel on normal or special summon lets you revive a Dracotail from your graveyard and then bounce a card you control back to the hand. Again, also floats into a Dracotail spell trap from the deck after used as fusion material. Then I've got 1 copy of Urgla. Urgla, I've seen people. I feel like Urgla and Pan, which is the next monster I will cover, are very um, vibe dependent. I like Urgla just because he has an effect that while he's in the graveyard, or you can target a spellcaster Dracotail in your graveyard, add that to your hand, and place him on the bottom of the deck. So if you get in a really weird situation where you use your 5 mana in hand without using her hand effect, and you activate the in archetype branded fusion, you can use Urgla from the deck and add the 5 mana back to your hand to have extra plays. Next, I've got 1 copy of Pan. Um, I've seen people run 2. I see people run 1. I prefer to go 1 and 1 on Urgla and Pan. Again, this is vibes based. You could completely cut the Urgla, but I wanted to run it because names. Dracotail Pan. Also, both of these have the same little floating effect. And he says whenever your opponent or whenever one of your fusion monsters is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon a non-fusion Dracotail from your graveyard and then place him on the bottom of the deck. Or you place him on the bottom of the deck and then you summon your non-fusion Dracotail monster from the graveyard. Next, I have 3 copies of Rahu Dracotail. Rahu is just your in archetype branded fusion. Also locks you into fusions after you use it. So, and then the freshly limited Key 2 Dracotail. It's Rhoda that it just gets stronger when you're going second. Adds a Dracotail monster from the deck to the hand, and then if your opponent controls a monster, you get to fusion summon on resolution. So that's pretty sick. Then I've got 1 copy of Horn, 1 copy of Flame, and 1 copy of Sting. You really only need 1 of each of the traps because the traps can recycle each other. Horn bounces a face-up attack position monster your opponent controls back to the hand or extra deck. And then all of them say you can place a Dracotail card from your graveyard onto the bottom of the deck, except another copy of itself, and draw a card. So these net you hand advantage throughout the turn while interacting. Flame negates a spell and a trap, and Sting banishes a monster, spell, or trap out of your opponent's graveyard. Well, it can banish both a monster and a spell trap, or one of the three options. Also, sorry if I cough and whatever. I have been feeling not so great lately, but I'm still here. Next up, we have a small branded engine. We got 2 copies of Blazing Cartesia. You could go up to 3. We're mainly playing her because she is quick effect fusion summon, and she doesn't have to use herself, which is great. Then I've got 1 copy of Fallen of Albaz. He's really good as a board breaker into other Dracotail lists, because you can just normal summon him, pitch a card, fusion summon with like their Arthalion, and it gets around Pan, because Pan specifically requires your Dracotail to be destroyed. Albaz just sends it to the graveyard as fusion material, so you get around Pan that way. Oh, Pan also pops a card. Yeah, when sent to the graveyard. Actually, hold up, backtracking. Malulu also, when sent to the graveyard as fusion material, not only does it set, it can also negate the effects of a face-on monster on the board, and then Pan can pop a spell trap on the board when sent to the graveyard as fusion material. Sorry, needed to cover that because whatever. Well, not really whatever, but yeah. You can Fallen of Albaz, fuse away one of itself and one of their fusion monsters, make Mirror Jade, and Mirror Jade can proceed to continue to crack the board. And then we've got our usual 2 copies of branded fusion, because you can use Fallen of Albaz plus Malulu from the deck to make Lubellion, and then Lubellion, Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, Malulu, set a Dracotail spell trap. Sorry, excuse me. And then I have 3 copies of the Fallen of the Virtuous, probably one of the best cards to come out in a structure deck in 2025. I know it's 2026, but you get the point. Just send a level 8 fusion from your extra to the graveyard, target a card on the field, destroy it. Or if you control an Ecclesia, you just get a monster reborn to your side of the field at quick effect speed, as long as it's face down. That's it for the branded portion of this deck. Not huge, but also still prevalent. And now for the generic staples and hand traps, and by generic staples I mean literally just called by the grave. Just called by the grave. So for the hand traps, I'm playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom. That is self-explanatory. Don't really need to explain that one. Sorry. 3 copies of Ghost Bell. Ghost Bell can stop the Arthalion as long as they don't chain block the Arthalion. It also stops Urgla and Pan. It stops Urgla, Pan, and all 3 of the normal traps. Ash can also stop all 3 of the normal traps in this deck, because they do draw a card with their effects. And plus, just anything that moves stuff out of the graveyard is really good to hit right now. Oh god. Give me just a sec. And I'm back. Sorry, I was dying, so I took a drink. Next up, we got 3 copies of Mocharmy Foolos. The reason why I'm main decking this is because this can just be a fusion material when you're going first, since obviously you have to control no cards to be able to activate it from the hand. So just going, oh hey, it's a free fusion material in hand, might as well. And so we're playing 3 of him, and I'm only playing 2 Perulia in the main deck, just because I don't know how good the deck is into the format now that it's been completely shaken up with the hits to Yummy, the hits to this deck, and the hits to Mitsurugi. God damn. Yeah, and then the freshly semi-limited Droll and Lockbird, we're playing those 2 copies. Again, it's a spellcaster, so it serves a dual purpose in here. And then we also have the 1 Magnemite, because Magnemite can search your Malulu. I gotta pause again real quick. And I'm back. So we're going to be moving on. Like I said, the only other card left in the main deck is Called by the Grave. So we're going to move over to the extra deck real fast. Starting us off in the extra deck, we have 3 copies of Dracotail Arthalion. Arthalion on summon can bounces cards from either board or from it's from either field or graveyard back to the hand. So it's not bad to summon it going first to be able to recur some resources back to your hand. And, really good interaction as well. And then both of the fusion monsters say if 2 monsters are summoned at the same time, you can revive them from the graveyard. Or I believe, yes, if 2 or more monsters are sent to the graveyard, not summoned, sent to the graveyard at the same time, you can revive both of these. So essentially, if you fusion summon while this or your other Dracotail fusion are in the graveyard, you can just revive them. You don't get their summon effects. However, the other one that we're playing, the 1 copy of Gulamel, Gulamel on Gulamel is a quick effect when you activate a Dracotail card. When you activate a Dracotail card or effect, you can pop 2 cards your opponent controls, target 2 cards your opponent controls, and destroy them. Sorry. Then for the branded package in the extra deck, we're playing 1 copy of The Dragon That Devours the Dogma, 1 copy of Lubellion, 1 copy of Mirror Jade, 1 copy of Albion, 1 copy of Titaniclad, 1 copy of Rinbrum, and that's it for the branded dragons. Mostly because you can go branded fusion summon Lubellion by using Malulu from the deck, like I was saying, and then Lubellion can summon Mirror Jade that gives you an extra piece of board interaction. And Mirror Jade can, on your opponent's turn, send Titaniclad, and then during the end phase, Titaniclad can summon Albaz back out of the deck. Fusion summon using your opponent's board into whatever branded fusion monster you want, or even into just anything else, like your copy of Secretarian Dragon, your Philia Regis, your Mysterion Dragon, or your Chaos Star Source Dragon. I would consider probably summoning Secretarian on your turn, because it does floodgate in the mirror match. Your opponent can't activate the effects of special summon dragon spellcaster monsters. So it does kind of lock your opponent out of the game. And to wrap up the extra deck, we have 1 copy of SP Little Knight, just because I needed another slot, and there's not really a lot of good spellcaster and dragon fusions that we can easily make in this deck. We're running all the best ones. So that is going to be it for the extra. Then we'll move on to the side deck momentarily. Also, be careful with prices and everything on a lot of cards right now because of the ban list having dropped. A lot of stuff has crashed, but I'm pretty sure a lot of stuff that dodged the list is skyrocketing right now. And one of the cards I completely see skyrocketing is Secretarian. I've watched it. I bought my Secretarian for $14 and it's already back up to $25. So, unfortunately, deck isn't very budget friendly, but deck is fun to play. So, if you have the money, you could. I would recommend building this deck even after the hits. It's still a fun deck to play and it still puts up pretty good boards. And now for the side deck, we've got 3 copies of the Rock. Can you smell what he's cooking? And it's everybody else's fucking boards. Because again, I don't know how well this plays into the meta again. And if you board this in, it is just a fusion material that you can use in hand. Um, and you can also fusion summon into whatever later on. It's just better to use it as an in-hand material than anything else. Like, yeah, again, not sure how I feel about this card. You don't have to play it, but I would keep it in the side deck. And again, it can just be a fusion material for your Arthalion being a monster in the hand. Then we've got 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Again, it's a spellcaster, so it serves a dual purpose. It's also a hand trap that's not once per turn. Pretty strong card. And I know Malice probably finally got murdered since it has so many hits to the main deck and they just lost Whitebinder. But I'm still playing 2 copies of Mole Charming Meowls in the side deck just in case if people are still trying to jam Malice for whatever reason. But these can be replaced with any other hand trap like Ghost Ogre, Ghost Mourner, whatever you want. You could also put generic spell traps in here. I also have the 3rd copy of Perulia here in the side deck for when we go second. You can board out of something like Ghost Bell and put the 3rd Perulia into the main deck. And just Perulia and Fua, your opponent, drawing cards anytime they summon from the main deck and or extra deck or hand. Oh, excuse me, or graveyard. Then we've got 1 copy of Bestial Baldrake and 1 copy of Druisworm for the Yummy matchup, so we can have more Bestial names to be able to get rid of their now limited Yummy Snatchy. That was probably the best hit they could have done to that deck. And then they also banned Herald of the Arclight on top of that. Then we've got 3 copies of Spally, mostly for the mirror match, because again, we don't really have a lot of good Spally targets in our extra deck right now. And I'm not citing any super poly targets. So it's, again, this is for the mirror match. You can just do this. Your opponent can't Mirror Jade in response to this. So you just fusion summon using their Mirror Jade and whatever the hell else. Or whatever you want, really. And then 1 copy of Crossout. This Crossout could be any one of. It could even be the 3rd copy of Meowls, or if you replace the 2 Meowls, this could be your 3rd copy of whatever you replace the Meowls with. Or it could be a 2nd Baldrake, again, to maximize your Bestials against the Yummy matchup. And with that, that is going to be the deck profile for the post-February ban list Dracotails. This is what I'm running with. I'm pretty sure this isn't what everybody else is going to be running with, and I'm pretty sure people are going to try to swap to board breakers because they're like, board breakers might be good now. I'll be honest with you, board breakers are never good until they are. And on that note, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.